Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hello, people. What is happening? Send me a little hello shout out and where you're from. Check here. And public done. All right, I think I got my settings all set up as usual. All right, so today could be a good one. I hope it is. I mean, how do I know? It's only my show. So, yeah, today I am talking about inspired action. So this is kind of a tricky one because of it's like a lot of things. It's our domestication. It's us getting used to the way things function on this earth. So like, all right, here's a doorway in. So I didn't know I was gonna come in this door, but it's all about balance, right? Everything's about balance. So a lot of the things that we struggle with, the reason we struggle with them is because we're too far on one side or too far on another. Like my clients will laugh when they see this or hear this because I do this often in my sessions. It's like we have to understand the pendulum is one way to explain it. And I believe they use that in Taoism. So like I grab my beads here and I pull them way over to one side. And it takes energy to hold up the beads to one side. It's up in the air. So for something to be up in the air against gravity, then it takes energy to hold it up in the air. So oftentimes what happens is when we make an adjustment, when we realize we're too far over here, we release the energy. And what happens when you release the energy? It swings too far to the other side, right? And then it can kind of settle back down. But this is why balance is so important. We want to be hanging down into the center. Why? Because it doesn't take any energy just to hang down in the center. So that frees up a lot of our life force energy, a lot of the energy we expend living dysfunctionally one side or the other. So it frees up that energy. Then we have more creative energy, more life force energy to move forward in life, because we're not expending all that energy living dysfunctionally one way or the other. So this is, it's a common way to explain a lot of things. So and this is one of them, we're out of balance, where like when we talk about the ego, we go, oh, a lot of it sounds like we're fighting the ego, like the ego's an enemy and we're fighting against it. And it's like, no, the ego isn't an enemy. It's just that it's in control and it's not supposed to be. Same with emotions. Like, we talk about our emotions and it's like, oh, we're fighting against our emotions. We're all over the place. It's like, no, everything that we have innately, like an ego, like emotions, like a brain, thinking ability, all these things, there is a positive reason why we have them. So the fact that we have them and they are is not the problem. The problem is that we're trying that either our brain our unconscious brain, our ego, our emotions are controlling us. And that's the problem. We're supposed to be in control of our lives. So like understanding that we are not our thoughts and we are not our emotions. This is, it's a very famous Eckhart Tolle teaching. I am not my thoughts. I am not my emotions. And oftentimes we get caught up with the I'm not our thoughts, and we forget to go, I'm not I'm not my emotions either. But either one of those, our thoughts aren't a problem. Our emotions aren't a problem. The ego is not a problem. It's just that we're over-identified with them. We think we are them. We think they are us. So like there's no balance there. Those things are supposed to serve a purpose, and we're supposed to be able to call on them or notice them depending on the situation. So this is, it's our over identification with it. We're way over. Where's my beads? We're way over to one side because we're over identified. But then if we don't pay attention to them at all, we're way over on the other side, and it's just a different flavor of dysfunction. Okay. So what we're looking for is that balance in the middle. So now I'm going to bring it into kind of our topic today, which is, inspired action. So a lot of the things that are issues in our life is because we're over identified with it. It's because we're overly conditioned to I had to shut off my phone. I kept seeing myself on the screen moving around. So what we're doing is we're over identified with the way of doing things on the linear plane. So the biggest, I shouldn't say the biggest, but a really good grand view of what we're trying to do to live a happy, balanced life is balancing our spirituality with our human experience. So where a lot of times we're overly identified with our human experience and we're not connected enough to our spirituality, right? Of course. I mean, so there's nothing wrong with our human experiences. We just can't think that that's all there is. So in this inspired action, the way that plays out is that we're taught that everything's linear. We're taught that on the earth plane that we do this and then we do this and then we get that. We're taught on the earth plane that, the more effort we put in, the more likely something is going to happen. And it's simply not true. I put in tons of effort in many areas of my business, and it's never worked. So it's not one of the reasons that this gets confusing is that action, just sheer effort and action sometimes works. So people go, oh, well, see, it worked in that situation. But what they don't understand is that everything is run by spiritual law primarily. Okay. Secondarily, we have a human way of doing things because we are humans, right? So like what happens is when we believe enough, when we're open to receive, like if I'm putting effort towards expanding my business, right? And I'm just doing things and I'm putting in tons of effort. That isn't going to do anything. It's not going to work. Now, if I believe that I'm putting in effort and it's going to work, if I believe it enough, well, then it will. Why? Well, because I believed it will. So what happens is I take action. I think that this action is actually going to come to fruition. So what that does is it aligns me with spirit. And then once I'm aligned, all of a sudden the fruition comes through. The fruits of my labor come in. And I think it's because I did all this work. No, it's not because I did all this work. I did all that work just to get myself in alignment with receiving what was coming. Okay. So we have to understand, and that doesn't even work all the time. Why? Because we're throwing in man-made law with spiritual law, So what we need to understand is, especially as the spiritual shift is happening on the earth, we need to understand that it's alignment that makes things happen. So we need to align. I mean, sure, yeah, we have to take some action. I mean, if, somebody sends you an email and says, hey, I would love to send you, $10,000, and you don't reply because you're like, well, I don't have to take action. It's like, well, come on. You're co-creating here. We're co-creating with life. So yes, that there can be some action so we can actually participate in our own unfolding, but what we're too attached to this idea that we're making things happen. And so what happens is our brain kicks in and we go, I don't like where I am. So what do I need to do? I need to take action to change it, right? But we're not in alignment with what we're trying to create. So when we're not in alignment, then we just keep running into walls, and it's not working, and it's very frustrating. Or what happens is, I'm seeing this a lot in the spiritual realm. Okay. So when you wake up spiritually, it's very exciting. You get the keys to life. You feel all this love inside of you. You want to help others. You want to give back a lot of times. This mentality of being a life coach or a healer, it feels really good on the ego, because you're like, oh my God, I want to be a loving, wonderful person and give. And then, so people wake up to all this, and then they try going and doing it, usually too early. And what they're doing is they just keep running into walls, and they go, oh, I'm supposed to be a Reiki master. Okay, so they go get attuned to Reiki, and then they try doing Reiki, and they're like, oh, I don't know, my business isn't taking off, or I don't really enjoy it that much, or there's too many people doing Reiki. I don't know, it doesn't work out. So then they go, oh, I'm going to learn how to, read tarot cards, or I'm going to go live in a commune, or, or I'm going to, quit my job and go over here, and then I'm going to go enter my dream job, and that doesn't work out. Then they go over, and they're constantly going from one thing to another. This is kind of why I'm talking about this. I'm seeing that a lot in the spiritual community right now. People trying to start their businesses too quickly, or because they're not grounded in it yet. They're not grounded in who they are and really what they're doing. And they're trying to, we always want to be where we're not. This is the humanness aspect of us. We always want, like, when we wake up spiritually, we're like, oh, I'm awake. Okay, cool. Now, I want to be in my gift. I want to be in my career that I'm going to be in for the rest of my life, giving back and just floating around, just being blissful and happy because my career is giving back, and I'm in this spiritual life, and it's so beautiful and all this stuff. And it's like, I'm telling you, I'm there, and it's not that freaking beautiful. Why? Because it's external. Like, it doesn't matter. I can be a life coach. I can live spiritually. If I'm off center, I don't feel good. And then I have to make a correction. Becoming a life coach or some other type of spiritual service provider, we'll say, happiness isn't there. It's just like everything else. Happiness is not outside of you. It's inside of you. These things can be expressions of our happiness, but we need to anchor into it more. And we're skipping over that. So we need to do more work, settle. And one of the best ways that I found to do this is the title of the thing. It's title of the podcast. It's inspired action. So instead of just going out trying to take action and intellectually figure out what's next. Oh, what's next? What should I do? that's all intellectual exercise. Like if you're especially when you're living spiritual, like the universe isn't going to allow you to just live like that because it's not in alignment with spirituality, right? So you open up spiritually. This is kind of the double-edged sword. Like in one way, I don't look at it like this, but sometimes people will feel like it's not fair or they're a victim of the universe or something because we once you're on a spiritual path, you have to live more spiritually. The universe isn't going to reward you for living in a material way. I don't really want to use the word materialistic. Linear, I'll say linear. Like the universe is going, okay, you're awake spiritually, you have the capability of comprehending co-creation and really stepping into your gifts, and it can be really beautiful. So it has to make sure you live by that. So it can't reward you for doing the wrong thing. So if you open up spiritually and then all of a sudden you want to bring the linear world in and go, oh, okay, I'm going to live my spiritual life in a linear way. No, you're not. You're going to hit roadblocks and walls. Why? Because you're not in alignment with it. And that's where the co-creation comes from. You're still stuck in linear world. It's like, no, we need to. This is why implementation, integration, this is so important. We have to take what we're learning and be it. We have to be it. And stuff like what happens. So, this is, I'll give you two examples. I'll just use Reiki for an example because a lot of people are familiar with it, or life coaching for that matter. But I'll just stick with the first one, Reiki. So somebody goes, oh my God, I tried Reiki. It's so amazing. And they've woken up spiritually in other ways and stuff. And they've integrated to some degree. And they're all excited. And they're going to start their Reiki business. And they go out there and they start this, and they're trying to do all this stuff. And they're, trying to improve their social media following. And they're trying to run these marketing campaigns and all this stuff. And it's not working. It's not. It's just it's not working, and what it is it's not inspired action because you're not in alignment with it. The universe does not want you struggling. The universe does not want you pushing to try to create something. It's not all about efforting when you are living spiritually. It's actually the opposite. It's about non-efforting. It's about living with grace and ease. It's about naturally manifesting. It's about inspired action and things coming out of the stillness. The stillness is the ether. That's where everything actually is and is birthed into this reality. So like when we're bringing something in, we just need to become a portal for it. We just need to be in alignment for it. But if we're overly focused on this linear way of action, and then I'll get, it's like, no, that's not integration. That's not spirituality integrating with your humanness. That's just humanness. And the universe isn't going to support that. Why? Because it can't, because you are held to a higher standard now. Like you're part of the solution on the entire planet. That's how important you are. So it can't sit there and go, oh, well, because how would you learn? If what you did, if you just focused linearly and it worked, you would never learn to live spiritually. And if you don't learn to live spiritually, then you're not expanding and growing. So this is why it's not supported. So chilling out and integrating what you learn. And if you're feeling anxiety, if you're feeling stress and you're feeling pressure to build your business and you're confused and you don't know why it's happening, pay attention to all that energy. Pay attention to the energy of the things that I'm saying right now. Feel what it feels like when I say these words. You're confused. Oh, that doesn't feel good, right? You're trying to push You're trying to make things happen. That doesn't feel good. It's constrictive. There's no flow to it. So like when we're sitting there, we have to take our hands off stuff, unattachment to the outcome, and really understand that all work is inside work. If you're feeling confused and you don't know what to do next, and you're putting all this stress and effort into things and they're not working, that's because none of what I just said is spiritual energy. It's not. It's human energy, and it's human dysfunctional energy on top of that because it doesn't feel good. Right? So instead, what people often do is they try something else and try something else and try something else. It's like, no. First, you gotta pay attention to your energy first. It's inside out. We are living from the inside out. So if you're feeling confused, there's inside work you need to do. If you're feeling stressed out, there's inside work you need to do. If you're feeling worried about your business starting, there's inside work you need to do. This is what I mean. It keeps pointing back in. All the uncomfortability and the non-success that you're experiencing, it's pointing in. And what we have, we have to slow down. This is why inspired action comes out of stillness. To me, inspired action is wonderful, but it's not even about inspired action. It's about the stillness. This is what we need to focus on. If you are uncomfortable, if you are experiencing unpleasant things, if you're like confusion and stress and things not working, those are all signs that you have to stop doing what you're doing. Instead, we usually double and triple our efforts. Why? Because we're taught that, we're conditioned to do that on this linear plane. It's just action. You just do, and then you do, and then and you do more. And if somebody has more, they must have done more. Well, that's not actually how it works. I mean, a lot of the richest people out there do not work harder and more than the poor people. The poor people usually work harder and more and end up with less. So the old adage, the harder you work, the more you get, that's not true. It's not true. Now, is it true sometimes? Yeah, it's true sometimes, but why is it true sometimes and not true other times? Right? There must be a disconnect there somewhere. And spiritual law is true all the time, always. So we must not be in alignment with spiritual law if it works sometimes, but doesn't work other times. This is what I was talking about earlier with alignment. We don't understand that it's alignment. Sometimes we use action to fool our unconscious into pulling ourselves into alignment. And then we think it was the action that did it. It's like, no, it wasn't the action that did it. It was the alignment. You just believed that your action was going to put you in alignment. And like I said, that works sometimes. And sometimes people get really good at that. They really believe it, and all that stuff. But if you're on a spiritual path, don't try believing that, because the universe isn't going to let you get away with it, because you're destined for something greater, a higher, more productive way of being yourself and achieving what you want to achieve and achieving all that you're capable of. You can only achieve so much that way. The way that I'm talking about, you can achieve everything. You can achieve whatever you want much more effortlessly. But we have to keep going inside. Do the inside work, get to that space. And then out of that space, action comes out. Like when I was over here visiting last year, August and September, I was sitting at Ben, I was still doing the podcast with Ben, and Ben was kind of teasing me as soon as I get over here to the DR. He's like, oh, you're moving over there. And several other people said it too. I hadn't even thought about moving over here. I mean, it just wasn't on my radar. I was just over here for 2 months trying it out. So I did. And after a podcast, I was like, geez, I wonder if I will move over here. Would I move over here? And what came to me was like, I don't need to know that now, you know? And I probably don't even have enough information anyway. I got 5 more weeks of being over here before I go back to Florida. When I go back to Florida, I'll have something to compare it to, living over here to living back over there, see how it feels. Maybe then I'll make my decision, you know? And I just put it on the back burner. I'm not trying to make a decision. And then, you know, like a week or 2 later, I was just sitting down doing nothing. Just sitting there, just literally just sat down to relax and just not do anything for a little while. And all of a sudden I heard this voice that said, why wouldn't you move to the DR? Like, why wouldn't I move to the DR? I don't know. And I thought about, you know, oh, what about my son? Well, what about, you know, my work? What about this? What about that? What about friends, family? And I thought about it a little bit. And I was like, well, I guess there's really not a good reason why I wouldn't. All this stuff, you know, could be navigated. And then I heard, yeah, you're moving. And I was surprised. I was like, really? I wasn't thinking, should I move? Should I not move? But the information just bubbled up. That's inspired wisdom. You know, we're talking about inspired action. This is inspired wisdom. It just came up. I didn't go looking for it. This is how we need to learn to live our lives. Stop looking into the future like things are going to be better then, and do the work that you need to do where you are. When you're in the right space, information will bubble up. When action is necessary, it will be inspired. You'll be like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go teach yoga all over the world. And I'm just going to go to a retreat center freaking thing online. And I'm going to reach out to all the different retreat centers, to the places I want to visit. And I'm going to ask them if I can teach yoga there in exchange for room and board for a little while. And I'm going to do that. And all these wonderful ideas come up out of nowhere, and you do it and it works perfectly. Or an email comes in. It's, you know, this is inspired wisdom, inspired action. This is how things start unfolding, and it's way more successful and joyful when we live from that space. So let me see. Let me check some comments here. I appreciate you guys commenting too. Thank you. Melissa, I've actually been working on learning to balance different parts of my new journey with letting go of old empty space. Yeah, there's, you know, we have to work on that. We have to work on balancing, you know, well, everything really, but it's you know, the work is inside. So, you know, letting go of what we used to think served us, which no longer serves us, letting that go and bringing in the new and practicing. Yeah, we need to do that. You know, that's implementation. That's integration. That's what's important. You know, it's not knowing everything. We think I didn't know anything when I woke up spiritually. You know, I woke up spiritually in 3 months and just understood stuff. And I had been, you know, I was on death's doorstep 3 months before, physically, mentally, emotionally fried. So like I had no capabilities of doing this intelligently. It's not an intelligence thing. It's a spiritual thing. It's divine wisdom. You just awaken to it sometimes, but you need to be in alignment with it. You know, so it's all coming into the center. And like I said, if you're feeling off, well, you have some work to do about implementing and integrating some things that you've heard already. It's all inside work. And once you align with that and you get it and it's part of you, and you're going to feel comfortable. Like if I'm really centered spiritually, right? Nothing can knock me. Like I can be sitting there going to court to get custody for my son, collecting food stamps, not knowing how I'm going to pay my bills, trying to start a business in the middle of it all and still be chill. How can you do that? Well, it's because I'm not attached to the external circumstances to be a certain way for my peace. That's not where my inner peace comes from. My inner peace comes from within. And then I can handle all that stuff. That's how I did it. I went inside. If anything is bothering me outside, if there's something wrong in my life that needs to be changed, I don't go out there trying to change it. I go in here and align myself with peace, with love. And then what comes out of me? A loving solution, effortlessly, naturally. This is what we're trying to incorporate. Let's see. Kelly, linear, there's no time. Yeah, there's no time in the spiritual realm. So the laws of how things work are completely different. Let's see, Kelly. I've been living by moon phases inspired by my spiritual journey. I bet your view is awesome there. I feel I'm in alignment with the tide. Yeah, that's, I bet your view is, well, I don't know how awesome my view is. It's funny because I get this all the time, like very, very regularly. Spirituality is such an individual thing. It's just, it's so individual. And I have a very strong intellectual side. And it's a blessing and a curse, I mean, I can speak and I can do things intellectually that serve me in many ways, but I cannot mix my spirituality with that. I can't. It's just, and if it was me doing it, I would be like, well, Glenn, you need to integrate more. But I found my balance with it. Like I can use my intellect in certain ways in my life, but as soon as I try bringing it into my spirituality, it messes everything up. It does. So I have to just keep my hands off stuff, and when it comes to spirituality, and live it very purely through the things that I teach. Otherwise, things don't go well. And the reason I say that is because most people think that I know things that I don't know, because I've been living this path for so long and I talk about so much stuff. And so specifically living by the moon phases, I don't really have a good view on I don't have a good view on it because I don't know that much about it. I've dabbled with getting astrology readings and learning about the moon. I'll take this opportunity to share one thing that I did learn about the moon. They have moon phase charts, and it's got the moon phase for every day. And you just print out this chart and you make a little note or something like on every day. Either every day or every day, like when you're feeling off or something like that, or when you're feeling really on, you can mark it. And then, I don't know if you have to do it a whole year to find patterns, but I mean, I think it goes a whole year, and you can really look at the patterns forming to your moods and how it's affected to that. And some people, like apparently Kelly is saying, you can design a lifestyle inspired by this, with the flow. And I think that would work for some people. Well, I know that it would work for some people, and some people it wouldn't. Why? Because there's some people that are more connected to Luna, more connected to the moon, and that can work really well for them. And other people it won't work well for. And then other people like me, like I hold everything loosely. So I talk about dynamics a lot. I don't know a ton about all these, like, wow, man, being over here in the DR, I've met so many different people, and like, I've expanded all the different things that I've been exposed to. So there's even more and more, like, of all this different paths, and a lot of people, like, can people know that I understand things spiritually, like I do, and people can pick up on that, especially if they're spiritual. So a lot of times when people get jazzed up or find something that works for them, they'll come talk to me about it, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really know that much. I like dabbling with things. I found my thing that works, you know. So, I've messed around with it to know that I can't mess around with it, because every time I do, it works less effectively. So I get, I don't know how astrology works. I'm loosening what we're talking about here to astrology, but, like, to me, I don't know. I don't know if the planets like are happening. Like, I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. I don't know if the planets align and they're going to be in a certain way and all this stuff, and that dictates what we're going to do. I don't personally really like that, because I like that mentality, because my whole mentality is all about empowerment. I'm not handing over my power to anybody or anything. I don't even give a crap if it's the universe. I'm not handing my power over to that. I don't think that, like, when I get an astrology reading or a card reading, I think that's a possibility. I think I have free will, and that free will can override that stuff. So, that being said, I'm actually getting an astrology reading very soon, in a couple weeks, I think. And I'm looking forward to it, because it's very in depth, and you can gain really good insights with this stuff. But exactly how it works, I don't know. I know that there is some truth to the moon. I know there's some truth to all the planets, and our interaction with them. You know, Sometimes I kind of think that, since we create our own reality, that, like, maybe we're doing stuff and the planets are almost falling in line with what we're doing. But that's a whole nother wormhole that I'm not going to go down. And a lot of times, as soon as I see a wormhole, I'll just stop, like I just did, and just go, yeah, that doesn't really make sense fully in certain ways because of this, that, and this. I don't know. I'm really comfortable not knowing. You have to do it over years. So Kelly said you have to do it over years of diaries. So apparently, yeah. I mean, I guess if you're really going to live by that way, then, some people do it over years of diaries. So if you're called to that, look into it. That's the beauty of this, is we're all finding our own way, and there isn't one way. There's as many paths to God as there are souls on earth, Lunatic is derived from moon phases. I only feel the magnetic pull of moon planets is relevant to stuff. I'm going to DM you on this one. Okay. Yeah. DM me. Yeah, it's there's definitely stuff to it. I mean, I've been around spirituality and seen stuff. I don't allow it to dictate what I do, just because, like I said, I'm all into sovereign being. I don't hand my power away to any, and that's what it feels like to me. Other people can live like this, but not feel like they're handing their power over. So that might be a sign that it's right for them, but it's not right for me. You see how it works? There's no right or wrong. It's just you do what clicks with you. And what clicks with you is, if you're experiencing more peace, more love, more happiness, more connectedness, then you're doing it right. So keep doing that. I always say, like, don't, I love the Buddhist mentality, which is naturally my mentality. Don't go believe me because I said something. Go try it. That's a Buddhist philosophy as well. It's like, go do it, go try it, go look into it. Or like stuff with me, if it doesn't resonate, then just, if it's not resonating, then it's either not for you, it's not part of your truth, or it's not part of your truth right now. There was stuff when I was like really it took a couple of years for everything that I woke up to start settling. And I actually longer than a couple of years. Plus I had to develop a language to speak and about spirituality in this world, to bring these concepts I had awoken to and actually be able to put words to it and stuff. So like when I was, I listened to and read a lot of Eckhart Tolle, and his way of doing things resonated with me, but I would hit pockets where I would be like, that's not true. There's no way that's true. And I'd just be like, yeah, I can't see that being true. No. And I'd just put that on the back burner, and I would keep listening. And then I would grow from listening, and then I would listen back again. And sure enough, I listened to The Power of Now on my drive up back and forth to work in Foxborough, Mass, from Rhode Island. And so I listened to those CDs like 7 times, and there's like 7 CDs. So I listened to that stuff a lot. And by the time I was done listening to them, I understood, like intellectually and conceptually, everything that he said. But there was stuff on the 3rd time that I listened to that I was like, there's no way that's true. Yeah, it wasn't true. I wasn't capable of comprehending it, And then, but as I grew and implemented this stuff and integrated it into myself, my life, and my consciousness, it expanded. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, that too. Oh yeah, that too. Oh, I remember last time I heard this, I thought he was full of crap. Why did I think he was full of crap? And sometimes I couldn't even remember. Sometimes I could, but it's interesting. So if something doesn't resonate with you that I say or anybody else says, don't worry about it, man. It's your inner guidance system. Pay attention to that. So if something's resonating with you and clicking and sounds right, lean in that direction. Keep going with that. That you can trust. Don't trust what I say, because I might say something that wasn't meant for you. Maybe it was meant for somebody else, So, or maybe it's meant for you later on down your path. Maybe it's never meant for you. Maybe it will never be part of your truth. Maybe it's just part of my truth and some other people's truths. That's okay too. This is the beauty of spirituality, man. This is like, when you really get to this point, this is the beauty of it, because look at what's going on in the world. One of the biggest problems in this world is somehow, somewhere, we thought we're all supposed to agree on everything. Like, I'm looking at the dynamics and stuff, right? And I'm looking and I'm like, what is the underlying dynamic here? What is fueling all this arguments and stuff? Why? And this anger behind the arguments and stuff. It's people think that like there's one right perspective on earth. Like they like if you're a Republican, you like, well, that's the right way to do things because of this, and this. And if you think the way the Democrats think, then you're an idiot, because it's not the right way. That's the wrong way. This is the right way. That's ridiculous. One, it's ridiculous to think that everybody is going to have one perspective on anything. That's absolutely absurd. The other thing is to think that one party like holds all the keys. Like nobody's looking for solution in either party. They're not looking for solution. They're looking to take a stand. And if you can take any political issue, and if you have an open, rational mind, you can see multiple perspectives. Like the Dalai Lama, regularly would talk to whoever was around about world issues. What people would label as a cleaning lady, he would be talking about world politics with this woman. And they'd be like, why are you talking to her? She doesn't know anything about this. It's like, well, she has a very interesting perspective because she doesn't know anything about this. And it expands his mind, right? There is no, so when you look underneath that, like, what's the dynamic? What are people expecting? Why are people arguing, and why are people getting so angry with the way they're arguing? Well, it's because they think that they are in possession of the actual truth. They think that they're in possession of the one way that things are supposed to be. Why? Because they thought through it and maybe researched or had some conversations and came to that conclusion. And then once they came to that conclusion, they locked onto it. And now they think that everybody is supposed to think the way they think, which is absurd. I mean, just if you've been feeling angry and arguing about things, and I'm not talking about, jerks. I'm talking to spiritual people. You guys are the ones that listen. So I'm talking to you too. The people who are saying that well, yeah, but I just want things to be, I want us to love one another, and they don't want everyone to love one another. So screw them. They're wrong. See, you're just as bad as they are. This is my point. You think that they're bad because they don't think the way you think. That's exactly what they're doing to you. And this is what we need to start waking up to as spiritual people. It's not about nobody is in possession of the truth. There isn't one right way. There isn't one perspective. We take in thousands, I think tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. I always forget the number of bits of information every second. Every second we are exposed. The color of the paint, the chip on the wall, the color of the blinds, the color of the dog food, the size of the bags, we're exposed to so much information all at once. People can take in different bits, and it's all shaped on our life experiences and stuff. And then we think that everybody's supposed to just look at things one way. It's absurd. So this is spirituality. There isn't one way. There's your way. And this is what I tell my clients. I'm not going to teach you my way. That's not what I do as a life coach. I don't have a way. I understand dynamics. So I teach dynamics about how things work, how the universal laws work, what you need to do to achieve what you want to achieve, not what I want you to achieve. If I teach you my path, I know a lot about my path. I don't know all of it, but I know a lot about my path. I'm not going to try to teach my path to other people, not specifically, because it's my path. And the only thing I know about my path is that it ain't yours. It's not your path. It's mine. So it can't be the same. So if you just mimic everything that I do without going inside and paying attention to what clicks with you and integrating this stuff. See, I love this, how it comes back full circle. It comes back to what we're talking about, integrating and implementing this stuff and being it. Because then there's no lying, there's no confusion, there's no because it's not a mental construct. It's not a mental exercise. You're not going to sit there and go, mentally, you might do something that I tell you to do that doesn't click with you because your brain tells you it's the right thing to do. Your heart doesn't. Your spirit is going to know that it isn't right for you, and it's not going to resonate. So if you're in alignment with that, it's a BS detector. It just kicks off what isn't for you. Why? Because it just doesn't feel right, doesn't resonate. Okay, cool, don't do that. Oh, this resonates. Cool, do that. That's the system that you can trust, but you need to be connected to it. How do you get connected to it? Through stillness, through coming down. When all the external circumstances, or even some of them, are bothering you and they're not the way you want them to look, the first thing we do is we try to go out there and tweak them. Well, that's not the way I want it. That's not the way I want it. That's not the way I want it. Oh, okay. So I'll fix that and I'll fix that and I'll fix that. Then those things will be the way that I want it. And then I'll be happy. Wrong. It doesn't work that way. When that is off and that is off and that is off, you need to go back in and center yourself, go into the stillness, find peace, and your answers will come out from that. Divine wisdom can bubble up because you're not constricted. When you're bothered and angry and frustrated and things aren't working, it's constriction, it's tightening. Oh, I'm angry. What happens? Your shoulders come in. Frustrated. Nothing's working. You see what happens? Like, we constrict, we tighten, our muscles tighten. There's no flow to that. Information or action cannot bubble out of that. It can't flow out of you. It can't come to you. You can't get whispers from your intuition. You can't get guidance from divine wisdom. You can't have a spontaneous action come out of you that's inspired through divine wisdom. That doesn't happen when you're like this. It can't. How can it? There's no flow. You're all, ugh. So that's what we need to release first. Relax, open, allow, center. As long as our external circumstances are dictating our happiness, we're not going to be happy. It's not going to happen. As soon as you get 6 ducks in a row, somebody comes by and kicks a freaking duck, or they wander off. Where's that duck? Damn it. That's not the way life works. We're never meant to base our happiness on external circumstances. And it's not there. So yeah, it's slowing down. Let me check my notes, see if there was anything. Yeah, we have to stop trying to figure out what to do and go within. And then after that, go within. And then go within. If you don't know, then go within. Find peace. Opportunities and action will arise out of the peace. That that's our goal, man, is to just relax and be in control of our own reality. What kind of creator just doesn't even give you control over your own happiness? It's horrible. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. Would you do that to your kids? That's what I always do. I always looked at it when I was understanding this stuff. It's like, and it's not even, I explain it in many ways because there's many paths. It doesn't matter if you believe in a loving God or if you believe in a self-serving universe that just wants its own expansion. There's a system. I mean, you'd have to be blind to think that there is no system. Of course, there's a system. There's something that's keeping the earth a certain distance from the sun. There are laws at work here, even if they're impersonal. If you want to look at it that way, that's fine. It's just there are. So in a universe that's constantly expanding because that's its nature, and we are part of that universe, so it expands if we expand. Why would it set up a system that's going to fail, right? Like egocentric humans make systems that are unsustainable. We do things that don't sustain themselves. This is why we're in the middle of a spiritual shift happening right now, is because we've been living societally, governmentally, earthly in ways that are unsustainable. So this is what man does because we're arrogant. So, and we're coming to the peak of all these things starting to fold now, that we've been living on dysfunctionally for so long, insustainably for so long, that we're starting to come and see that they actually are fully unsustainable. And we're starting to create new ways of doing things that are sustainable. But nature doesn't do that. The universe doesn't do that. The universe doesn't make that mistake. The universe doesn't set up a system that's unsustainable and then go, oh, crap, my bad. No, it has divine intelligence. It knows what it's doing. So does nature. This is why it's all sustainable. Right? So we're coming back into accordance with nature. So why would this intelligent system that creates the entire universe and everything in it and all the perfection and beauty and, oh my God, you can't even wrap your brain around it. Why would something that has that divine wisdom set up a system for people, which is part of the universe, so it's part of it? Why would it set up a system where, like, doing the wrong thing where you don't expand? Like, why would it set up a system where we're not in control of our own happiness when happiness expands us? But we're not going to give them control over it. It's just going to be a crapshoot whether they're happy or not. Like, if they're lucky enough to get all their external circumstances just right in an ever-changing reality, so they won't stay like that even if they get them all right. So we're going to set them up to fail at their own happiness. Because that's what it would be. If your happiness was based on your external circumstances, we would all fail at being happy. We would have to. Because even if we got it all right, we're in an ever-changing reality and things would change and then they would no longer be right. And then we would have to try to make adjustments again. So we would never be able to consistently sustain happiness. And if that's what your life is looking like or feeling like, that's because you're doing it wrong. Which brings us to inspired action. Come in, be still, focused, and then allow that divine wisdom to flow through you and out of you, and steer your actions. And it's going to feel good. It's going to be much more effective. So let me see. I know some comments came in. I found when I become still, let me see. I have found when I become still, sit back and take a deep breath and think I can make better choices. Yeah, this is it. I saw something. I think it was from my friend Karen Laurie on Facebook. She's very, very spiritual woman. I think it was her, but it caught my eye because it's something that I talk about a lot too. You know how I was talking about constriction earlier, tightening and stuff. That's what happens to our brain when we're stressed out and when we're angry or frustrated. Our brain literally shuts off. It starts functioning less effectively because the anger is pushing. Our body doesn't understand anger. It doesn't know like that we're angry because our life isn't going well, or if we're angry because we're in the middle of a fight to the death with a freaking gladiator. It doesn't know the difference. It just knows anger. It responds the same. So what it does is it starts shutting down the brain so you can't think clearly. Why? Because it doesn't want you thinking at those moments. It doesn't want you figuring out a math problem. How heavy is this gladiator's sword? How far, if he swings it without me blocking, will it pierce my armor? Like, it doesn't want you thinking of stuff. It wants you acting. So it's taking all the blood out of your brain and pushing it to your muscles so you can fight or flee. So our brain literally thinks less well. It thinks poorly when we are angry, frustrated, upset. This is what, if I get into bad headspace, like one of my first rules is don't come to any conclusions and don't think about stuff. I don't allow myself to think about things when I'm in bad headspace. Why? Because like attracts like. So if I'm in bad headspace, that's negative energy. What is going to make sense? More negative energy, right? Because like when I'm all pissed off and I'm like, this is stupid, this is never going to work. Then all of a sudden an idea comes in and says, well, Glenn, what if you did this? Maybe that could work. Screw that. That's stupid. And it could be a very good idea, but I'll push it away. Why? Because it doesn't match the vibration that I'm in. So I just push it away. And sometimes I'll come up with a quick reason why it's bullshit and just shove it. But then if something comes in that reinforces my negativity, yeah, and it's not going to work because of this too. Damn right. That resonates. Why? Because it matches the vibration. So we have to get out of this stuff. We have to get out of these energies of lack. Is another one that just came to me. It's the anger, frustration, lack, fear. Oh my God, my business, I have to do something or else it's not going to expand. No, it's not going to expand if you're in that energy. That's why it's not going to expand. It's not because you didn't do something. I mean, look back, like, this is how I learned it because I did it wrong. I look at my business and it's like I did, whenever here's one of the more recent rules that I found. If I look at myself and I go, Glenn, you did 10 times more than you should need to do to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. That's a red flag for me. I go, oh, I did. So like other people have accomplished my goal by doing less than what I've done. As soon as I recognize that, I go, oh, your energy must be off. It's not because I can do that. The universe will not allow me to do anything with crappy energy. So I'm out there trying, and see, this is what I mean about my intellectual side. I can intellectualize really intelligent solutions and all kinds of stuff. I can use my brain and really come up with awesome, cool stuff. And I'll start to depending on it and not paying attention to my energy. And the universe is like, no, it's not going to work. He's just too focused on his intellectual. Oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, that's smart. Glenn thinks he's clever. Oh, good. Look, he'll do all this clever stuff. And it ain't going to work because he's not in alignment with the energy. He's not in the right space. So it's not going to work. So I keep doing this stuff. And all of a sudden I go, why isn't this working? Oh, wait a minute. Damn it. Out of the energy. Okay. So then I spend time getting back into the energy. And then all of a sudden stuff starts flowing. And that's what we're talking about. So that's going to do it. Went over an hour again this time. So that's a new habit. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for all your comments. It really does. I know I don't comment on every single one, but I do look at them and they are helpful. And especially when the information flow, I need that feedback with you guys. So yeah, thank you very much for that. And that's going to do it. That is going to do it for today. I feel complete. So I'm going to wrap it up. So thank you guys. And I saw you, buddy. I usually see a few comments after I get off, but I caught buddies. Thanks for watching, bud. All right. That's going to do it. So peace out. You guys go be well and go within and then function from that. All right.
Looking for more? Check out over 200 episodes of Life Lessons and Laughter, or click the link in the description of this episode to connect with Glenn directly.